Hey there, tea sippers and social media sleuths. Welcome back to another episode of our favorite podcast where we spill the hottest social media tea and dive deep into the wild world of online drama.
That's right. Today's episode is called Social Media Tea, where we've been steaming a cup of content brewed just for you. And I am LD Patty Lomas.
And I'm Monieka. We're here to guide you through today's most intriguing topics. So grab your favorite mug and settle in.
We're kicking things off with a jaw dropping updates about the Pope, what he's seeing, and what has everybody buzzing. We'll share our theories and insights that might just surprise you.
Then hold on to your hats because we are diving deep into we're diving deep and take you down to the rabbit hole of paranormal stories that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the afterlife. Ghosts, hauntings, and eerie encounters await.
And then again, hold on to your hats because we're diving into a phenomenon known as demon face syndrome. Initially thought to be a disability, this topic has taken a wild turn. What does all it mean for those affected? But wait, there's more.
And if there wasn't enough to get your heart racing, we'll take you down the rabbit hole of paranormal stories that leave you questioning everything through the afterlife, ghost hauntings. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm out of my brain right now. I apologize. I'm sorry, guys. Miss Monica is just a mess. Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna keep going though. We're gonna keep
But
going.
wait, there's more.
In a twist that has everyone talking, the Casey Anthony. Ugh, I know.
Ugh.
She's back on social media, and what does it mean for her and the public perception of surrounding her and her infamous past? Some of you guys, I'm so glad that you guys are going to be on here about this because I had a lot of questions. Who is that? And I'm so grateful that we're going to be able to talk about it. So we'll discuss that. Um, we'll discuss the events that led up to her and how to navigate through that chapter of life. Right now, she completely disappeared from me. So there's a whole generation that we don't even know who she is. So I'm glad that we got to have this discussion
Yes,
with you guys.
yes, definitely. So, whether you're into confident discussions about true crime, love, less paranormal, or you just wanted to hear some chilling tales from above, beyond the grave, this episode is something for everyone.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And keep up with all of our latest episodes. You won't want to miss a single drop of our social media tea.
So, let's get started. Starting on the Pope.
Yes, the first subject we're going to talk about is Pope Francis. So he is the Pope of the Vatican and he of the Catholic churches and things like that. And I had seen that in February he had gotten kind of sick and was in the hospital. Now this man is 88 years old. Okay, that he's up there in age. He's the Pope, but we've seen plenty of social media about him as well. Well, one of the things that I saw in February is that he had got bronchitis and had to go to the hospital. And then just recently, we found out that he was back in the hospital as of March 7th, has not left, and he wound up having a double pneumonia. So I've had a kid with pneumonia. It's not pleasant, and our kids are a lot more faster in healing than Pope Francis. Once you're up there in age, your immune system kind of slows down, and it's harder to get better faster. So he's been there since March 7th. They're saying that it's taking time for his body to be able to kick this out, but double pneumonia, and then now they're saying that he may have scar tissue from what's going on in his lungs. But recently, just this past week, we've been hearing things from people who've been around the Pope while he's been sick and things like that, and that he's been recently becoming very more hysterical while he's half awake, half asleep, if I'm not mistaken. They're saying that he's explaining that he's starting to see demons around him and that he sees demons trying to grab him. And he's also even talked about seeing a portal to hell at the feet of his bed opening where demonic forces are trying to grab him. So this was something that was talked about this week. And I noticed that considering that he's the Pope of the Vatican, of the Catholic Church, I mean, I've heard a lot of things about what happens when you become a pope. Like there's even a moment when you become a pope where they leave you alone in this room and it's called the cry room, if I'm not mistaken. And no, that not really was discussed too much, but it's like before he makes a decision of the pope, they tell him something. He goes to this room to be alone with him and God, and he gets to pick whether or not he wants to continue to be a pope or he wants to actually become the pope. You know what I'm saying? But the reason why
Yes.
they called it the cry room was kind of what got my flags going because I was like, why would people call this the cry room if this is a place where he's supposed to talk with God before he chooses whether or not he wants to become the pope? Are they telling him something? Is there something that's a secret that nobody knows that he's going to have to find out? Like I thought about this when I was younger because I grew up Catholic, but right now what's going on with him, considering that he's a lot older in age and being sick and having to fight this sickness, in these moments people are saying that what he's going through right now is very spiritual. He's in a spiritual warfare while he's sick. You know, and anybody who's been religious or has religion knows that spiritual warfare is no joke. And right now, I mean, he's definitely on a lot of people's prayer list, but he's also, I've seen lots of questioning on what's really going on. Why is he seeing demons in this part of his life?
Right.
And
Like he's like supposed to be like not the holiest, but like if anybody's gonna fight something, it's gonna be him, right? So
exactly, he's considered to be a very holy, but very like warrior type, you know, top ranked up there. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, exactly. Unless there's like a message in it.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of theories that like he's hasn't, you know, been the greatest.
Yes.
So it could have been that. So there's a lot of theories that surround this, I feel like.
Yeah, I know a while back, about a year ago or two, I had been seeing pictures floating around social media saying that um, sometimes as entertainment, gestures are brought in as entertainment. And for people who know what a gesture
Yes.
is, it doesn't seem like something you would see in a religious place for entertainment. You know what I'm saying? So there's
Yes,
questions. You
exactly.
know, there's always been questions in churches, and you know, is this the right person, and this and that, and you know, most people have seen him in public answering questions for people, and he seems to be very humble, very sweet, things like that. um, but then, like, we say that there's other things that are seen that nobody talks about, and then when somebody talks about them, it's very hush hushed after it's spoken. So right
Right.
now I've been hearing like different people's opinions on why they think he's going through this spiritual warfare, and why, like you said, why is he seeing demons? Is he seeing demons because he's not paid some dues, or is it because maybe he was doing things that we didn't know about? Or, we would never want to talk about, we would never want to tarnish anybody's name. But right now, with him going through this type of spiritual warfare, people are wondering, why are they demons he's seeing?
Right, exactly. I don't know, but also think about it too. I mean, I don't know. I have so many theories, and I don't want to say the wrong thing. I feel like I'm tiptoeing over here,
No,
like,
no,
cause
no, no. I mean, I think with our listeners and stuff, I think that this is things that we should be okay to talk about. My opinion is, I grew up in the church. I'll start. My opinion is, I grew up in the church. I just remember being taught as a child to keep things quiet. Your relationship between God and you is between you and God. Um, it wasn't really, for me, it was really frowned upon to say that God spoke to me, even though I've been hearing him since I was a kid. And when I was a kid, I feel like the only thing I remember learning in the church was I needed to obey the Ten Commandments or I was going to go to hell.
right.
That's all I can really remember. And I just remember being kind of traumatized because I had questions, and when I had questions about spiritual gifts, people were looked at me like if I was demonic or witch in some type of witchcraft. You know what I'm saying? And both my parents
Yes.
grew up in church, went to Catholic church, paid their dues, did everything, and I just felt very outcasted by the Catholic Church. And so I left the church when I was old enough to choose. And I remember going to the Catholic Church and still not knowing what was going on or how to understand anything. And I would just cry because I was just like, as a teenager in your early 20s, you go through things. And I was looking for spiritual help, and nobody was understanding me, I guess. And so I just kept quiet, and I was like, you know what? I was going to sit at the church and cry, and I'm going to ask God to help me. So
Yeah.
growing up in the Catholic Church, I do notice that there's a very strict way of doing things, and it's very hard to break the opinion of a Catholic person via male or female. More male than female, but
Yeah.
I did notice that there are just things that I think were very quiet, and I thought it was very odd because your spirit's supposed to be free, and as a child, you're very free. You're a kid.
Yeah.
But I was taught very. I was taught with lots of structure. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And I just remember never wanting to go back. I go back if I want to pray and if I want a quiet time to pray. Like I'll go back to the Catholic Church every once in a while. I'll do some prayers, or if I need my brain and my world to be quiet, definitely go into the Catholic Church and just sit in the pew and pray. But that's very rare. I maybe do that once or twice a year. When I'm really thinking about things and I'm fasting and stuff like that. But I know that when I grew up in Catholicism, I remember when I was older thinking I don't ever want my kids to grow up not understanding the Word of God. And I know now that they teach us the King James version of the Bible very young. And to a child, it may not be as understanding, or to some children, because for me, it wasn't. I winded up going back to a Christian church later on in life where it was very open. It was very open for you to sing and praise, and it wasn't so structured. And this is what we have to do every time, and these are the prayers you have to say every time, and these are certificates you got to get. And it was very open for me to be free about who I am and God and have a relationship with Him. And it wasn't looked at wrong to say that I could hear God's voice. So, I mean, considering what I've been through with the Catholic Church and Catholicism, um, we hear about exorcisms and things like that are done via Catholic Church. They have certain people that do exorcisms and things like that when the right qualifications are met. But I guess over the years you see them more on movies than you do like when you hear it in the Catholic Church, it's very hush hush, don't talk about it.
Yes.
This can travel, but I mean you see it more in the movies now, and it's something that people know happens in the Catholic Church.
You're
So I
right.
mean, definitely things happen that we don't hear by word of mouth as much. Now it's different. Everything's on social media. People want to know if it's normal and things like that. So for me, when I think about what's going on with Pope Francis, all I can think about is my own spiritual warfare and thinking about, like, if this guy's really sick, he's loved God all his life, he has served the church his whole life, this is who he is, um, and he's sick. I mean, sickness in church is considered to be, you know, um, your body, fighting against you sin wise, and
Yeah.
considering he's of age of the areas where sometimes people die naturally, I feel like it's a spiritual warfare. I feel like maybe he's fighting things he didn't know he had. Maybe he's being
No.
woken up in his soul, to kind of open his eyes. But I mean, right now, what they're saying is all he's seeing is demons. So what kind of
I mean,
spiritual warfare is going on?
they do say that it is a prophecy of the popes, like that's
Mhm.
attributed to Saint Malachi. They actually predict that there will be 112 popes between Malachi's time and the Last Judgment. Um, but that kind of came in with like when there was a prophecy about Rome and everything. Um,
Mhm.
it is normal. I know not everybody's going to believe this, but I feel like it is normal to see things at the end of your life. Not saying
Yeah,
anything's going to happen to him. I mean, he's 83 years old. Come on. Um,
yeah,
he can't live
yeah,
forever.
yeah, for sure. And our bodies, they do give out.
On one hand, I'm thinking, okay, if we're just doing like opinions,
Yeah,
on one
yeah,
hand, okay, this might be normal. We see things that we probably should never see. And we turned out okay. We learned
yeah.
how to
We
fight
grew up with
it.
spiritual gifts. Yeah,
Yeah, my gosh, I still remember a time when I had that dream. I had a freaking nap, minding my own business, and then you're over here clawing the hell out of somebody. I don't know if you remember that, but that was a whole thing. And
yeah,
then, I mean, just like we've seen, and I remember, I think that was actually one of the first conversations that we had. I was like, I don't understand why I see so many bad things. And it just seemed like for the longest time I would see more bad things than good things.
yeah,
But do I have the answer for that now? No. But now I feel like the more things I've been through, I needed to go through that to work through it. I needed to see, okay, what is it that I need that's not just holy water or sage, How do
hmm
I work through my prayers? And that kind of go, even though the Pope is like the holiest or not holiest whatever guy out there, he's literally trained in demonology. You know what I mean?
He's
But
trained to be able to fight this type of spiritual warfare. Yeah,
However, maybe it's just not clicking because you can be you can go by the book every day. Okay, this is what these are, this is what they're seeing, bookwork stuff. And then till you're actually seeing it, till it's in your face, you don't really understand it. Does that make sense? Like,
Yes.
so what if he's, I don't know. And also, if this is a gift too, what makes us think that he was seeing this before? He may not have been seeing this kind of stuff before. That's what the media is making it sound like. He's never
Mhm.
seen anything
He's
before.
never spoke out, or it's never been, like, public that these are things he saw.
Because it's
Because
all
with the
book.
books,
It's
yeah,
all
yeah.
book. It's
Mhm.
all scripture. It's all Bible. It's all
Mhm.
like I'm pretty sure they got thick and layers of books and books and books and books. I don't
Plenty of
really know the
scripture down there.
process. I'm just
Mhm.
going off of my theories, but just lots of studying. This is what you say. This is how you go by the book. This is how you're going to extract something, but till you actually are in it, and it's at your feet, you're like, okay, this is when you're trusting faith, you're trusting God. Sorry if I'm getting too religious with some of y'all, but you know what I mean? But it's true. You're the Pope. You're the
Yeah,
spiritual of the spiritual. To
yeah.
me,
Top dog.
the problem I have, well, I'm not even going to get into that because we got so many other problems on this tea today that I just don't even want to get into it. But yeah, it's kind of like, so what if there's a trial and tribulation to this? Like, what if there's a reason why he's seeing it? Now he has to learn to fight through it because
Yeah,
he has to understand that it's just not. I think, and again, this is a matter of opinion. I
yeah.
don't remember how, like, back in the day, growing up, it's always black or white, heaven or hell.
Mhm.
Is it though? Do we know? How do we know? Like,
Yeah.
so what if? And I think a lot of like the trials that we go through, it seems like the last several years, I'm like learning there
Everything
could
was put in
definitely,
play.
yeah, there could definitely be a lot more than this black and white paper. We have this such old way of thinking because it's like this is how they thought originally. But then
Mhm.
they go and they pull out the original written Bible,
And all
the
these missing
original,
pieces. Yeah.
because man got to it. You know, it's crazy to me. I'm sorry, and maybe it kind of sounds like a ramble because I am
No,
exhausted.
no, 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 no. No, trust me, you're entitled to your opinion. I really think, and I find it really interesting how we talk about that because when I hear you talking about how this may just be something that he needs to go through, I think about all these people that I've seen, and I know you've heard some of them who these people who've had face to face with death, and the first thing that they see most of the time when they're already adult or they go to hell or they go somewhere where they find that it's like hell and then they then they see what it is and then boom they meet God and they're like, hey, this is not the lifestyle you want to live because you can wind up there and boom they
And it
wake up,
doesn't even have to be like demonic things. It could be
Mhm.
like your loved ones, like a lot of people say, you
They
know,
see loved ones, yeah.
I mean, they
Yeah,
have,
you definitely have those two different um ways of things happening. Sometimes you have people who've been living a crazy life who wind up seeing what hell is. Sometimes you just see somebody who died and saw some family and was like, oh, I came back, oh, there is a heaven.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's crazy. So I'm like, I don't know what the reason is, and I've heard he done some bad, 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 bad things.
Mhm.
And I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to get into that. So that could be a punishment if all that shit is true. And then at that point, I don't feel sorry for him. But that's between him and God. Speaking, can I go in the rabbit hole?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. So, speaking of demonic things, okay, Monica, I'm going to share this video. Okay. And I didn't watch it. I was literally watching the last part at an angle, so I couldn't see it because I was scared. So, um, Miss Manieka found a video today, and it is spooky. That's all I'm gonna say. So if you get scared easily, or you have a child in the room, you may want to.
Discretion is advised.
Yes. See the top right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share this. And if you see me disappear, okay, so I'm going to share yours first, then I'm going to share
We have
mine.
captured one of the most scariest videos ever today. I'm still a bit shaken. This is this is what my dad's camera caught of my reaction. I'm really sad. Dad. Oh my god. Dad. Dad. And this is what my camera caught of my dad. Oh. You roasting? What are you on about?
I really bad one. Freezing. Not really chilly.
I'm roasting. What?
Yeah, hot.
You alright? Dad?
You know,
Dad? Dad? Oh my god. Dad? Dad?
oof, that one's always hard for me to watch.
I was pushing through my fingers. And I
That
was
is
like,
always hard for me to watch. And I've watched that one plenty of times, but it's always still harder for me to watch.
I know, I'm like, I think I've seen them do a video once before. I don't know if it was the same father and daughter. See, now I'm paranoid. Um, so I think he does readings, but I'm not sure. I have to really like investigate it.
So the video was pretty much about a daughter and a dad. Apparently, they've been going through some type of paranormal thing going on. So they both have cameras on each side of the table, and her dad's camera gets her initial reaction. That's what we see first, right? When I first saw that video, I have seen a natural reaction, and that girl was scared out of her wits in her soul, and that was a natural reaction. So I initially kept going to watch it. Then when I see what's going on with him, and I know you, Miss Mary, we've had this situation where we've had bad energy around us, and we're like catching headaches, we're starting to sweat, like it's really uncomfortable. But to watch her dad just sit there and kind of just try to get through it, and then all of a sudden you see that face, that kind of takes us into our next conversation. Because what that woman saw scared her in her soul. And just watching it, I know you don't like to watch it, but I watch it because I'm very precise about things, but it's still kind of, it it makes me a little uncomfortable to still like we definitely seen different things. I don't know how much Miss Mary has seen because I've known her most of her life, but I've definitely seen worse things. But those are the things that kind of jump scare people, uh, paranormal wise, I guess you could say. And those are never easy to handle because you never know when they're going to come out of somebody.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, the main thing, okay, which kind of takes us into our next subject. We'll get back into the paranormal thing because I do have another video. Um, well, I don't know. Should I share? Well, yeah, I'll come back to the second video. But the main thing that kind of caught my eye on that one is the face that he makes, where you can almost kind of see like a face coming out of him or around him, right? That was like the biggest thing. And so that kind of takes us into the next subject. Not that people, okay, so what did you call this? Sorry. You called it Demonic face syndrome.
Yes. Sorry. I just want to make sure we said the right word. Okay. So when I first saw this happening, I was literally at home just hanging out, and then I was scrolling down just news, like you know how they have like they have social media news. You got your TikTok, and then you have like the fast news you can watch on my phone. Sometimes I'll scroll down the news, the fast news, just to kind of see what's going on because I get really paranoid with the weather. And so I had heard the first time this saying came out was that the news was saying it's like, oh, news report, people are starting to say that they're seeing demon faces in other people, and this is considered to be, this was literally a news segment, like just a quick news segment saying that if you see demonic faces on other like strangers, please call your local uh authorities because this is considered to be a disability.
What the
So
fuck?
when the news put it out, it was considered to be a disability and you needed to call your doctor as soon as you could, but they wanted you to contact the authorities as well. So when I found that out, if you go back to my TikTok posts and my Facebook posts on my stuff, you'll see that I had put something out saying, I've seen these things my whole life.
Yeah.
People have open eyes, some people don't. And it seems like people's eyes are being opened for whatever reason now in this time and era that what is new to the media and they're trying to say is a disability has evolved into now it's a syndrome. And now it's called demonic face syndrome. In other words, when you're walking around doing your normal grocery shopping or something, if you happen to see somebody who happens to have a face like the man just had that we just saw,
Yeah.
and you see how quick it was. You see how quick it was. It's just an instant and boom. That's literally what it looks like. Like I've been seeing things since I was a kid. Like I'm just telling you, I can go back since I was 3 years old. And being somebody who was brought up in the Catholic Church, when I tried to speak about things like this, I was hush 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 about it. So it was like I never had a mentor to teach me anything. So I
Right.
just went along with thinking that this was normal in the world. That people could see the same thing I saw. I remember in my 20s, I was actually at a Christian church. I had already left the Catholic Church for years now. I went to a Christian church. I actually became ordained at that church. At that church, I hugged a praise and worship singer, a woman. I hugged her because I knew her. She seemed like every once in a while would say hi. So as I'm picking up my kids and she's picking up her grandkids, I give her a hug. I'm like, oh my God, your music was so good. I give her a hug. And I look at her and I see one of those faces. It didn't scream at me. I just saw it and then it went away. And I remember hugging her, seeing her and then going like that. And she got scared. She was like, what hurt you? I was like, yeah, I'm great. Sorry, I had to sneeze. But she knew I saw something in her. It made her feel weird. And it made me feel weird because I was still hugging her. So I stopped hugging her. I'm like, what the hell out of here? But I've been seeing things like that. Like I said, I thought it was normal at first. And then I got out of the church that I couldn't understand the Bible in. I got into a church where I was taught to kind of read easier version. I learned how to pray. I learned what these things are. I learned that, you know, it happens. I didn't know that it wasn't normal for everybody not to see things like that.
Yeah.
I realized that only people who have a high level of energy and have these gifts can see those things. Then I realized that it wasn't normal.
Yeah.
And that it's not talked about in certain places, certain religious places. So now that it was first considered to be a disability, which I'm perfectly fine. I'm normal. I'm actually one of the smartest people that a lot of people know. I'm so bad at being smart. I'm OCD about cleaning too. So it's uncomfortable to be OCD sometimes. But now that I see that they were considering it to be a disability, I'm like, I lived my whole life with this. What you talking about?
I
So
know.
when
That's
it
what
came
I'm
out
like.
that it was a disability, I
It
was like,
would.
no.
It was saying like that too. Like if you see like an image, like on something, like okay, for instance, when I was doing readings, I can still to this day, I can look at a picture and I can like look around them, look in the picture. If I see a face, what do I see? Without even being there. And then for a while, they were like, "Oh, that's a disability." I'm like,
Yeah, a disability,
no.
that word is really thrown around in spirituality sometimes, and I don't find it. I think that's for people who don't understand spirituality or people who just need something to name it. Because I grew up perfectly fine, had good grades. I think I may have had a C in math most of my life, but I mean, it's math. But I never like, the only thing that I ever had situation as far as seeing spirits was I couldn't sleep sometimes because they kept bothering me while I was asleep.
Right.
Sometimes I want to talk about things. You don't want to talk. You're a kid. You want to go to sleep. But I can't say it was a disability for me. Maybe it's considered to be a disability for somebody who's never been through it and just finally having open eyes. But now it's a syndrome. Like when I think of syndromes, I think of like Down syndrome. I think of those type of syndromes,
Yeah.
and I don't see this situation or this demonic face syndrome being a syndrome. I see it as people are being woke and nobody else knows what to say about it. So they're just trying to say it's a disability. But for
Exactly.
me, I noticed that that was something that my soul showed me through my eyes to protect me from people who have things that I don't know, that I can't see to their natural eye. You know what I'm saying? Any person who ever
Yeah.
had one of these things inside them, I knew to stay away from them, because even though what looked like a nice picture on the outside, inside somewhere there was something that was holding on to that thing.
Yeah.
And there have been times where I've seen the same people and then I didn't see it that day, or I've
Mhm.
seen them multiple times throughout my life and I've seen it once or twice. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's something that, you know, that is stuck to people on the inside, but somehow shows itself to certain people. And
Yeah.
then, you know, you hear certain people get. Have you ever heard the saying? Sometimes when people don't like you, it's because they don't. Their demons don't like your soul because you project the light of the soul of light. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's one of those things too that maybe it's almost like when someone's very clear in their spirit and very more white lighted spirit,
Mhm.
somebody who has something that's trying to jump out because it's too much for them to be around somebody so close. Or sometimes it's just that they know you can see them, so they're going to try to scare you, and they're using this vessel of a person, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the second thing that we're talking about. Like now is the demonic. What was it? Demon seeing syndrome or whatever they're trying to say it is.
Yeah.
I found that really. I found it really uncomfortable for them to use that word, as if it's like it's just a syndrome that happens, like it's chromosomes mixed up. Like, sweetheart, no.
Like there's a connection that's not connecting. Your brain is
Loves it.
wired differently. You have a differently wired brain.
I feel like people who study the brain and science needed a reason to use a word for that because there was no other word for it. But spiritual people know what that is. I mean, okay, look.
It's,
I know some of you guys are horror movie fanatics, and some of us like to watch scary movies all the time. But
mhm.
I remember the first time I remember seeing this come out in a movie was The Exorcist of Emily Rose. Do you remember that? That
Yes.
girl, when she was talking, when they explained how she was talking, that she was going through the rain and she was seeing demonic faces on people,
Mhm.
that was a true story. The Exorcist of Emily Rose, you guys, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Viewer discretion is advised. It is considered to be a scary movie, but about a girl who was considered to be possessed. She
Yeah.
says, she explained to people around her and to the doctors and all these things that what she was seeing was what we would consider to be demonic faces. She would say like, how did she explain it? Blurry side faces, or she uses a different way of explaining it. But what they explain now as demon syndrome face or whatever,
Mhm.
demon face syndrome, is what she was actually going through in the middle of her spiritual warfare before they started the exorcism with her. So this was literally based on a true story. And I watched that movie, and exactly the way they explained it there and exactly the way you see it on this video is what I've seen throughout my life.
Yeah.
So based on her exorcism, I mean it didn't go well for her, but if you watch that movie, it literally teaches you that this has been going on for years before this syndrome came out. You know, this young girl was in a spiritual warfare. She sees these faces. I grew up perfectly fine, just having insomnia every once in a while because what the things that I saw, I knew it was in the dark, so I didn't like to be in the dark.
Yeah.
Mind you, I slept with a nightlight till I was like 22. That's really when I started to understand how to pray
Well,
spiritual
yeah.
warfare.
I mean, you met me when I was like 23, 24.
Mhm.
Yeah, 23.
And
And I
it's
was
and
like,
it's and sometimes, you know, we're not people to just. I know I wasn't. I know Mary wasn't until we met each other, but we weren't really out there about talking about what we saw like that because people would think that we're crazy, or people would think that we were in some type of witchcraft, or there was a lot of labels to be put on people who are spiritually inclined that other people didn't understand.
which is funny because that's the first thing we talked about.
Yeah, we literally were like, look, don't think I'm crazy, but like this is what we're, and it was
I was
literally.
like me and my big mouth. I was like, I feel like there's something going on in the hallway.
And we stayed friends forever, you know, like we
No.
literally can understand each other. If I'm going through something or if I'm having a vision and sometimes I need to just kind of talk to somebody about it. I know Miss Mary can understand me because she's been through spiritual warfare and spiritual things too. So sometimes Miss Mary's a little more don't look, and I'm kind of like, what's that, But it's because I think I've been a little bit more exposed to things since I was a kid. So for me, there's nothing really. Honestly, there's nothing really that scares
See,
me
I
anymore.
mean,
I watch scary movies too, like to see if there's anything new that I haven't learned. But
see, and that's what's weird for me. Like, I've seen stuff my whole entire life. Even as a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, what I do? But I didn't see, like, bad things until I experienced grief. Once I experienced grief, oh, bam, 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 bam.
Mhm.
Maybe that's our Pope theory.
Maybe.
Oh, I get so deep. Don't make it dirty.
About,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Okay.
sure we have plenty of viewers out there who know, like, who've
Yeah.
probably had some type of form of paranormal happen to them. I mean, I've met people who say, I've never had anything like that happen to me. I'm not even gonna lie, like, even in certain churches I've been to, and actually most of all churches I've ever been and stepped foot into, I've had somebody tell me one of two things. Either they've had some type of paranormal negative energy happen around them, or they saw something weird, or they were trying to figure out how they could have a relationship with God because they've never heard his voice, or they've never had miracles happen for them, or they've never seen a miraculous event. So
Yes.
sometimes when people are trying to become into a religion or be believers of God or Jesus Christ, whichever one they want to speak about,
Yeah.
they're kind of like what the Bible says when Jesus says, like, you guys don't trust me and believe me, but you want proof. But how strong is a person who doesn't need truth because they have faith? So sometimes I've come across people who have grown up in religion and don't understand the relationship with the spirit of God because they've
Mm-hmm.
never seen things given to them that they've prayed for, or they've never heard his voice like they think that they should have. And
Right.
that kind of can have the negative way of not understanding things sometimes when things happen that are spiritual because they've never been and witnessed it.
Right.
That's one of the things that I notice that kind of stops people, from understanding or believing or having faith in certain things. Not
Yes.
seeing it. But I've seen it my whole life, so when people ask me, I'll give them the truth. I ain't got nothing to lie for, honey, and I'm not crazy. You can check my IQ, you can
Exactly.
check my grades, you can check everything.
Exactly. So I want to see what you think of this video.
All right, let's look.
I don't know. I think I sent it to you, but I don't know if you watched it.
I know, but I'm gonna give you my normal reaction right now. Let's do it.
All right.
Your discretion advised, guys.
I don't know why that pauses there. That's this. Okay. Let me pause it. Oh, see right there? Okay. Let me rewind it. Okay. Let me. Oh my gosh. This thing. Okay, just read the top. Thought this was my housemate sleepwalking, but I don't think it was. Look at the knife.
Wow.
Yeah, by that point I'd be out.
What is she looking?
She's eating toilet paper.
Oh my god.
She's chewing on toilet paper, yeah, and the rug.
Oh my god, no. Oh my god, I have seen this. I've been like this. This is the most scariest shit ever. I mean, just, oh my god. Okay, let's talk about it. First, she's here. She's sleepwalking, obviously, because she's literally kind of slouched. She's going into getting food, and then all of a sudden, randomly, you just see a wine glass break behind her. Nothing in it. Nothing. She turns around completely.
Sorry, it's a little slow. I don't know why.
Now she's crawling. I'm gonna tell you something. I've woken up to people crawling. This shit is the most scariest stuff ever. When you see it happens. Now her eating toilet paper, that's kind of random for sure. Definitely random. I've seen people stuff pillows everywhere for some reason when they're sleepwalking, but that's weird. You see how she can barely hold her head up?
Ugh.
Now then here she is staring at who. It's gotta be somebody who lives in her house, and then things start falling around her without her touching it.
I'm gonna be honest with you. If I seen that, I'd been like on the way out in the car going, Monica.
Yes. That would have been her first call. Not even the police. It would have been my first call or her. So,
Like forget Chris. I'm calling Monique.
So
Like, I'm sorry, but
I
I'm
gotta be
leaving you
911.
in
Yeah,
the house.
I need somebody spiritual.
I'm I'm out.
So in this
Mm-mm.
thing, I've seen, okay, so like I'm sure plenty of people have heard things, but I know that this is one of the things that I can say that I've witnessed and been a part of when somebody that you know or you love or let's say the night at your house is standing over you looking at you. Now I know this doesn't happen to everybody, but sometimes when you're a lot spiritually inclined and you got a lot of gifts like me, I have one I could say for some reason, I don't know why people like to watch me sleep. It makes me very uncomfortable. But like I'm kind of a little understanding now about how my health is and I need my beauty sleep. Okay. So sometimes if I'm tired and I got a guest over that I know is like my family member, I'll be like, hey guys, I'm gonna go to bed a little bit early, but just keep it down, lock the doors and Now my oldest
Yeah.
daughter, she's the creepiest one of all, but I'm gonna tell you because my daughter loves me, but for some reason she just loves to watch me. Now the way my daughter watches me sleep is she always explains that she comes into the room and she sees me and she's just like, oh, my mom sleeps like she's just at peace. She goes, so sometimes I'll stare at you. And a couple of times I've woken up and she's just like, and I'm like, dude. But she does it in like
Yeah.
a loving way. It's not demonic. It's not like the way we saw this picture. But I've definitely woken up at a friend's house to somebody that I got a real eerie feeling around at like a party or whatever that we were having.
Yeah.
And I remember being asleep in the bed, like just like asleep, and I just felt like my soul tell me like wake up. And I just remember kind of just waking up and looking and being like, and then literally they're just staring. And what I saw this person looked like had like okay, so this was a girl. She had broad shoulders. You know what girl shoulders look like? They're very dainty, very cute, very small. I have broad shoulders. That's different. But in the time when we were younger, I remember going to sleep. Everybody's going to bed already. Everybody's tired from hanging out and stuff like that, right? And then in the middle of the night, I just remember like being on my side and hearing wake up, and I'm just like, I'm inclined with my spirit, so I understand what's going on. So I'm kind of like, well, it's dark. Nobody sleeps with the nightlight here, so I'm feel safe because I have other people around me. So that's kind of the only time that I didn't sleep with the nightlight was with people. And I just looked, and this person who's supposed to be a young girl with, who you would think would have like a very woman silhouette, you know, it didn't look
Yeah.
like that. I've known this person for years, so I'm like, I'm scared. First of all, my first initial reaction is, what the fuck is she doing staring? And then I look, it's kind of dark, but you know when it gets dark and your eyes adapt to the light or whatever,
Yeah.
the shoulders were more broad, and it was just like, and the eyes were just considered to be really, really black, and I just remember thinking and calling the name, like, hey, are you okay? Hey, are you okay? And then
Right.
there was no answer. Just like you see that girl's dad, like he's not answering, but he's a very stare, like a very strong stare. And then I kind of yelled the girl's name and I was like, can you hear me? And then all I saw was, hey. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you standing over the bed and like at the edge of the bed? She said, oh, I was looking for the restroom. Well, then why were you staring at me? You know what I'm saying? So that definitely creeps. That is the creepiest shit you can ever wake up to. I've definitely one time my daughter scared the shit out of me, but she's very spiritual too. Like she knows me and she knows what I've gone through. So I always tell my kids, don't come and jump scare me because I will probably hit you because I've been through a lot of things spiritually. And I've
Literally.
jump scare me.
That would be me.
Yeah, exactly. And I literally coming up spiritually, I've warned my kids. I have 5 kids. I've warned all of them. I've been through spiritual things. I have spiritual gifts, and I've had a lot of things jump scare me. So please don't jump scare me because I may hit you in reaction. Please don't. And I have one kid who's a spooky kid. He likes like everything horror, and he jump scares everybody. But my oldest daughter has grown up with me, having to kind of catch her, like, hey, stop. And then like when she started watching me sleep, like crazy kids do sometimes, she just happens to be the one who knows, like, if I'm asleep, she's like, oh, let's see what my mom looks like. And then it just happens that as soon as she walks in, I wake up and she's staring at me. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I catch her every time I see her. She's like, I just walked in. I'm like, that's a lie. You've been staring at me forever. But like, it is
I
sometimes like
know. I
people do stare
felt
at you.
it.
Yeah, but then like there is times where you see like this woman, like you don't even know that was her mom's room, her roommate's room, whoever. There's just something about the way the posture is and the way the demeanor is that you
Yeah.
see somebody like this. Like at first, when people sleepwalk, I've seen sleepwalkers. My son used to be a sleepwalker. His dad was a sleepwalker. I had no idea until my son was sleepwalking, and his eyes halfway closed, and I was just like talking to him, and he was having a conversation with me like it was all good. I was like, "Why are your eyes closed?" He's like, "I'm gonna go back to bed. I'm tired." I've seen sleepwalkers. Sleepwalkers, they're not really, from what I know, they're not really like out to hurt anybody. But when there's something inside of you, that person, that thing, that entity is either wanting to try food, drink something, or um, scare something, scare people around it. You know what I'm saying? Sleepwalkers kind of just do random things.
Yeah.
I've seen people who are on medication too, like that Seroquel. I've seen some older women like sleepwalking, eating rapes and stuff. Like I've seen that, but I've been through lots of spiritual things where things like this are walking around. And sometimes when a person is asleep, they're an open vessel because they're asleep. And so then certain times you'll see them crawl. I know my son's dad. You know Chris. Chris, one time we were asleep, and Chris is one of those people who's very emotional, but when he sleeps, he's an open vessel apparently. Because one time we were asleep and I was pregnant at my dad's house, and my dad and me had made sugar cookies because my dad's a diabetic. He should not have been eating sugar cookies, but he was. And I just remember being asleep and then seeing Chris just wake up like Dawn of the Dead, like,
Oh,
and then
heck.
taking off, and I'm like, Chris, where are you going? Because I'm a light sleeper, you know. He didn't say nothing. He had no shirt on and just like shorts to go to sleep in, and I was in my sleeping dress because I was pregnant. I wobbled behind him and I'm like, Chris, where are you going? And then all of a sudden he's in my dad's kitchen. Like, I mean, it was about 40 steps from our room to my dad's kitchen, and by the time I hit the door, he should have been barely halfway there. He was already in the kitchen, and then he had his back towards me, and the light was turned on, and he was making this weird noise like, and I was like, what is he eating? Right? I said, Chris, what are you eating? And then he stood up straight like that. And mind you, I'm seeing him from the back. He stood up straight like that. And I was like, Christopher, what are you doing? It's late. And he just like didn't say nothing, dropped the bag on the counter, and then walked past me. And I'm just thinking, he's determined on what he's looking at, but his eyes were completely black. He goes back to the room and lays down. Lays down.
Oh.
So then I look and I go to the kitchen to see what he's eating. It's crumbled up. The cookies that I had put in the bag to like, not be out or whatever, they were crumbled up. And I'm like, what the hell? He was eating sugar cookies? I found that to be really weird, right? But I remember hearing that spirit people who get into people, they want sweets. I've heard sugar, Kool-Aid, I've heard things like that. So when I saw that he ate sugar cookies, I was like, oh my God, this dude has a spirit in him. What am I going to do? He's going to lay down next to me now? So I went to the room, and he looked like he was asleep with sugar cookies all over him. So I laid down next to him, and I'm like praying, like literally praying. I just put my hand on his wrist, and I'm like, oh God, please don't let that thing happen to me while I'm asleep next to this guy. I'm not going to bed. I did not sleep the whole damn morning. I swear to God. That happened around, I want to say 1 o'clock in the morning. Now it's already 7 o'clock. My dad goes to work, whatever, right? And my dad's like, what happened to the cookies? And I was like, I didn't say nothing. I was like, I'll tell you later. He's like, okay, because he was going to have cookies for lunch. He was going to throw some cookies in his lunch bag. So he goes to work. I let Chris sleep, and I'm getting sleepy now because I'm tired, and I've been watching him to make sure he ain't gonna hurt me. And because you never know what's gonna happen with a spirit inside somebody. Well, he wakes up and he's like, because I didn't touch him. He had sugar all over him. I didn't touch him. I just held his hand, and I was like, I'm gonna hurt you. And I held his wrist. So he wakes up and he's like, Monica, did you drop something on me? Were you eating? Like, he's thinking that I'm pregnant and I'm eating, and I drop crumbs on him.
Oh
I'm
my
like, a mouth full of sugar and a neck full of sugar and a chest full of sugar, I was like, Christopher, you remember waking up last night? And I'm all, thinking about it, like in my mind, I'm like, I know what happened, but I'm gonna ask him. He's like, no, what are you talking about? I said, Christopher, you got up in the middle of the night to go eat sugar cookies, and then you came back to bed and just passed out. He's like, what? What are you talking about? Now, mind you, this is the one who he's a sleepwalker. But when Chris sleepwalks, his eyes are closed. That night, his eyes were open, and I couldn't see not one. I could just see black. So there was no white part in his eyes. That's why I just kind of just let him walk next to me, because I've been around spiritual things, but never this close, So he swears he does not remember getting up. He doesn't remember eating sugar cookies. He doesn't remember nothing but going to sleep and waking up. And he didn't believe me when I told him, like, you literally were gobbling down sugar cookies. So much, like, because it was a big bag. I was like, so much, my dad didn't even get to have any for breakfast. I mean, for his lunch. He was like, he never believed me, but multiple times, I want to say 4 times out of my relationship with Christopher, and we were together for like 5 or 6 years, he had at least one of those situations happen. And then once after the first time, I kind of caught on to it, because when he sleepwalks, his eyes are closed. When he's in one of those open vessel moments, he has no white in his eyes, and his eyes are open. Thankfully, I never got hurt, but like things like that happen. And it makes me think, because I had asked other people of like spiritual things that have happened to them. They all say a lot of times when spirits jump into bodies, they want to taste a food, or they want something very sweet. And that was something that I noticed Chris liked to eat, was sugar. Like something very, very, and sugar cookies, if you make them as a diabetic, you're going to put a lot of sugar in them. He was literally eating like, I guess, handfuls of it, but I just remember that freaking sound was so animalistic in the way he was eating. It really just creeped me out.
Ugh, nope. I was like, I rebuke that. I don't want to be. Okay, so we don't have a lot of time left, so I'm gonna make this short and sweet. Um, so buzzing around social media. Y'all remember Casey Anthony? Okay, we all have our opinions, so play nice. This is apparently okay. So let me play the video. She put a post on social media, and there's more. I'm not really sure because I had literally looked at the videos, joined the live on TikTok, and crazy people went after me. That was weird. But
Yeah,
this
Mary
is what
was a bystander and then got attacked, so.
I was like, who are you? And then I'm like, okay, some of these are AIs, and then some of them are just people with like under 100 followers. I'm like, so you're scrolling through there to see who liked the post or followed or whatever. I do not like that scratchy background noise on my end. Okay, so this is her video. I had to cover. Okay, I had to cover it.
So today,
So I'll mute myself. But anyways, here it is.
today is Saturday, March 1st, 2025. This is my first of probably many recordings on a series that I'm starting. I am a legal advocate. I am a researcher. I've been in the legal field since 2011, and in this capacity, I feel that it's necessary, if I'm going to continue to operate appropriately as a legal advocate, that I start to advocate for myself, and also advocate for my daughter. For those of you who don't know, my name is Casey Anthony. My daughter is Kaylee Anthony. My parents are George and Cindy Anthony. This is not about them. This is not in response to anything that they have said or done. That's not to say that I'm not going to respond at some point to some of the things that they have said and done. The whole point of this is for me to begin to reintroduce myself. I'm doing this both personally for me, but in a professional capacity. Moving forward, the majority of what you will see will be me speaking in a professional capacity. My goal is to continue to help give a voice to people, to give people tools and resources that they can utilize so they actually know where they can turn to. So with that, please join me on Substack. If you have questions, I will set up an email address where we can correspond directly. Up until this point, that has never happened, and it's only going to be on a limited basis regarding legal issues, legal matters. One of the main reasons that I'm doing this, there are people close to me who have been targeted and attacked recently. There are also people close to me who have had some recent things occur, and when necessary, people needed to step up, myself included. So as a proponent for the LGBTQ community, for our legal community, women's rights, I feel that it's important that I use this platform that was thrust upon me and now look at as a blessing as opposed to the curse that it has been since 2008. With that, these aren't going to be perfect. They're not going to be edited. Most of the time, they're not going to be short. But I am proverbially standing in the light, embracing this piece, still going to keep my privacy intact. So you will get very comfortable with my car, and I will explain in great detail.
Okay, yeah, so just give it a minute. I had paused it. I was just doing something, but she is a hot mess. I don't know if you're catching anything, but
Why it's so important for people to protect
it
their
all
privacy.
makes sense, but it doesn't make sense.
It's not just important to
thing.
public figures, it's even more important to private individuals. And with the current climate in our country especially, it's that much more important, which is why I am utilizing the Substack platform. Yes, I am advertising this and publishing this on TikTok, possibly also through other meta platforms, but my intention is to separate from that and showcase even more why Substack is such an important resource for people to utilize moving forward. Anyway, I appreciate your time, and we'll see how this goes. We're sweat to death.
How are you holding that in?
Our last few minutes, we're just going to have a quick quickie on this one because Lord knows we could have made this a 3/4 parter, but it's okay.
I'm sorry, it seems like
No, it's okay.
the
Don't worry.
videos are glitchy. I don't know what's going on.
It's okay. If you didn't get to hear that we did off TikTok, she ran it on TikTok.
I was
Now,
like,
Mary,
what
how
does the LGBT
2008?
community have to do with anything? You know, and then she's like, oh, I'm a lawyer, by the way. This is all legal. And I'm like, what? Like, what?
So for those of you who don't know or don't understand what we're talking about right now, Casey Anthony is that woman you just saw. In 2008, if I'm not mistaken, it was questioned on whether or not she may have hurt her daughter or not. Her daughter was very young. The grandmother hadn't been able to talk to her via her mom. Cindy hadn't been able to get a hold of Casey about Kaylee. Right, Kaylee? Is that what you said? Yeah, Kaylee. And I was, I don't know, 20, 21 when this happened. But I remember watching it on the news and just like being just so upset about it too, you know, with everybody else. Apparently, what was said was that the grandma couldn't get a hold of the granddaughter. She'd been wanting to spend time with her. Casey Anthony wasn't giving her time, and so the grandma called the cops for a well check on the granddaughter. Come to find out, she's missing all of a sudden, and Casey Anthony doesn't know where she's gone. And then all of a sudden, you know, cops are questioning what's going on, and then local people start to say that the day after she put in the missing report for her daughter, that she had nothing to do about. She had no way of understanding what happened or all this, you know, whatever, blah blah blah. Town people start to say and send pictures that the day after she put in the missing report for her daughter, that she was partying, dancing on bars, and like I said, townspeople started to let the local authorities know that this isn't the behavior that somebody who has a missing daughter should be doing. So apparently, she was known to be partying a lot, being at the bar scene and things like that. But considering that she had just considered her daughter to be missing, like people thought it was kind of weird that she was out there partying and things like that. Then, you know, she's been accused of knowing something that nobody else knows because nobody can figure out what's going on with her daughter. She kind of gave the cops a runaround. She kind of lied about certain things, didn't know what to say, and then they threw her in jail for a while, tried to figure it out while their investigation's going on. A little bit later, her daughter's found while she's in jail, dead, with duct tape on her mouth, with a cloth that had chloroform or chlorophyll, something like chloroform, something where you put it over their mouth. People are known, people have been people who have hurt women in the past have been known to use this liquid that they put over into a cloth and over the mouth to make people pass out. I know, I think it's chloroform, chlorophyll, chlor something. I'm pretty sure you guys know what I mean. But they're saying that when the daughter Kaylee was recovered, that she had been duct taped with that cloth and that chemical over her mouth, and it was a very disturbing situation. And a lot of the video and phone calls that were recorded on in the prison or the jail where she was at or whatever, when she's talking to her mom about when it all happened, it just seems like she had no remorse. She didn't care. Like her mom tells her, you know, hey, there's a conversation that I gave Miss Mary earlier about how she just had no sadness in herself about losing her daughter. It was like, oh, surprise, surprise, she's dead. Like, who the fuck says that about their daughter, you know?
Exactly.
To see that maybe she did it and maybe she didn't care and maybe she got away with it and then she got a good lawyer and the lawyer got her off and she got out of jail. The same day she got out of jail, apparently one of the people of public saw her at the gas station and tried to run her over, ran into a store. So apparently, supposedly what happened is, like, after that situation and seeing how her life was in danger, she went into hiding, I guess. And now she pops up on social media on TikTok and she's wanting to be an advocate. So people are literally upset about it. The social media is very angry. I can say as a mom, I would never take her advice. All fingers pointed to what she did, and she got away with it. I am a firm believer that she did it, and I think my opinion is she got away with it, and she's living her life. And I am part of the group that thinks, she was guilty.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, there's so many things. I don't know. I kind of also feel like maybe somebody helped her, but I'm not that deep into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. I know.
That's our
Okay,
tea,
so
though. That's our tea. We didn't get to talk too much about
yeah,
Anthony. Sorry, guys. We got into a lot of stuff, but we did want to make sure that we let y'all know, for those viewers who didn't know what the story was about Casey Anthony and why people didn't like her. Now you know. The tea this week was Casey Anthony, the Pope's seeing things, and the syndrome that we discussed. We didn't even get into our third subject, but don't worry. The tea is always hot for us.
yes, exactly. So we just felt like I was like, we need to just forget a new subject. Let's just catch up on everything because there's a lot going on. So I hope y'all enjoyed this live today. I know it's a little late. Go and get your sleep. Try to sleep. I don't know if I'm gonna sleep now. But anyways, have a great night, everybody, and check us out on Wednesday for our live subject on the lipstick killer with our guest speaker, Chris. So
Chris.
yes, and then next week, keep an eye out for our St. Patrick's Day special. We're talking about fairies, trolls, everything that comes around with Celtic. Okay,
Famous
so
people in that area.